Why did you roll back or put a pause into some of the tariffs until April 2nd?
Because I wanted to help Mexico and Canada to a certain extent.
First, the tariffs were on.
Will tariff and tax foreign countries to enrich our citizens. 25% on Mexico and Canada.
Then they were off.
President Trump's tariffs against Canada will now be put on hold.
And while the tariffs were paused, Trump then threatened to impose a 25% tariff on aluminum and steel.
This is another way of saying we're doing a 25% tariff on steel and aluminum.
Yeah, that necessarily involves some temporary hardship, but it will ensure long-term prosperity.
Then he threatened reciprocal tariffs, which are retaliatory trade measures imposed on countries that levy tariffs on U.S. goods.
On trade, I have decided for purposes of fairness that I will charge a reciprocal tariff, meaning whatever countries charge the United States of America, we will charge them. No more, no less.
Yeah, look, I look at tariffs, they are an economic tool. That's it. They're an economic weapon, depending how you use it and why you use it and stuff like that. And, people argue, is it inflationary and non-inflationary? I would put in perspective, if it's a little inflationary, but it's good for national security, so be it.
Then the original 25% tariff was imposed.
Tariffs, is there any room left for Canada and Mexico to make a deal before midnight? And should we expect those Chinese tariffs, the extra 10%, to take
No room left for Mexico or for Canada. No, the tariffs, they're all set. They go into effect tomorrow.
Then those tariffs became real, and some of them paused again, now till April 2nd.
We spoke with the big three auto dealers. We are going to give a 1-month exemption on any autos coming through USMCA.
I spoke to the President of Mexico, wonderful woman, today, and we helped them out with the problem they were having to do with the tariffs.
One school of thought is that Trump doesn't know what he's doing, and it's been, to say the least, confusing. Today, the US stock market experienced significant declines, reflecting investor concerns over a potential recession and uncertainties surrounding President Donald Trump's economic policies.
Well, the stock market tumbling today as President Trump's tariffs cause investors to get cold feet.
President Trump, what's your thought about why the markets are so spooked? Do you think they don't like the tariffs, or do they not like the uncertainty with some of the changes and the carve-outs?
Well, a lot of them are globalist countries and companies that won't be doing as well because we're taking back things that have been taken from us many years ago.
Inflation and recession fears mount. It might have many wondering what this means for their own investments and their retirement accounts.
If you're outside of the United States, it's going to be a little bit different. We just weren't treated right. We were ripped off as a country. I've been saying
the
it for a long time.
S&P 500 fell by approximately 2.7%. The Dow Jones Industrial Average dropped over 2%, shedding around 890 points, and the Nasdaq Composite declined by 4%, marking its steepest drop since 2022.
CEOs want to see predictability. They say, look, I have to speak with shareholders. I've got to make plans for CapEx spending. I can't if it's 20% one day and then it's off for a month and it's 25%.
Yeah.
So can you give us a sense of whether or not we are going to get clarity for the business community?
These market movements are largely attributed to fears that Trump's recent economic decisions, particularly regarding tariffs and trade policies, could lead to an economic slowdown.
The tariffs could go up as time goes by, and they may go up. And I don't know if it's predictability. I think
so. That's not clarity.
No, I think that they say that. It sounds good to say, but for years, the globalists, the big globalists, have been ripping off the United States. They've been taking money away from the United States, and all we're doing is getting some of it back.
This administration's been in office maybe not even exactly 6 weeks.
Goldman Sachs has revised its 2025 economic growth forecast down to 1.7% from 2.2%, citing expectations of increased tariffs.
They're going to have to balance what is a potential slowing in the economy versus the fact that inflation progress has stalled out.
And we're going to treat our country fairly. This country has been ripped off from every nation in the world, every company outside in the world. We've been ripped off at levels never seen before.
And the reason tariffs is such a problem, why I think the market is reacting the way it is, if you're going to have a tariff dispute with China or Europe, that's one thing. But if you're going to domicile manufacturing in the United States, integrated supply chain and logistic relationships with Mexico and Canada is central to being globally competitive. We operate as a North American continent, and I think that's why the market was so surprised by these actions.
Canada will be implementing 25% tariffs against $155 billion worth of American goods.
President Trump just responding to Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, writing this on Truth Social, quote, "Please explain to Governor Trudeau of Canada that when he puts on a retaliatory tariff on the U.S., our reciprocal tariff will immediately increase by a like amount."
We're a big, big country, and they do a lot of their business with us, whereas in our case, it's much less significant. We do very little with Canada by comparison. And I wanted to help the American car makers until April 2nd. April 2nd, it becomes all reciprocal. What they charge us, we charge them.
Some leaders are also being disrespectful to Trump.
Now, it's not in my habit to agree with the Wall Street Journal, but Donald, they point out that even though you're a very smart guy, this is a very dumb thing to do.
Manitoba Premier Wab Kinew showcased his theatrical skills in front of a crowd.
Okay, this order, it's a wonderful order, it's a beautiful order. This order is pulling American booze off the liquor mart shelves.
Prime Minister Justin Trudeau today said that Donald Trump is trying to cripple the Canadian economy in order to annex it. What do you say to that?
Total collapse of the Canadian economy, because that'll make it easier to annex us.
Justin Trudeau is running the end of his term, and I don't really want to think about the ridiculous things he's said in the last couple of days. It's sad. It's time for him to go, and let's move on, have a new government in Canada.
These guys never liked each other, and Trudeau has nothing to lose. He's been basically kicked out by his party, so he's just in his last days.
Ontario Premier Doug Ford is keeping American liquor and wines off LCBO stores and restaurants while urging other provinces to implement similar measures.
And as the exclusive wholesaler, American brands will no longer be available in LCBO catalog, meaning other retailers, bars, and restaurants in the province will no longer be able to restock U.S. products. Every year, the LCBO sells nearly $1 billion worth of U.S. wine, beer, cider, seltzers, and spirits.
We have private beer and wine sales, but not private liquor sales. So, Doug Ford is really pushing that he's taking Kentucky bourbon off the shelves, along with California wine and Tito's handmade vodka out of Texas. And that is really annoying the governors and the senators and so on down in the United States. So let's take the example of Kentucky bourbon. Well, the governor is a Democrat. That doesn't help you with Donald Trump. The senior senator is Mitch McConnell, who Trump hates. But Rand Paul is the junior senator from Kentucky.
I know my good friend, the governor of Kentucky, he's losing his mind right now. I said, you better talk to your president. Mitch McConnell, senior senator from Kentucky, they're losing their mind.
Effective today, I have directed BC liquor sales to immediately stop buying American liquor from red states. Liquor store employees will be removing the most popular of these brands from government store shelves.
Ontario buys more than $1 billion worth of booze from the Americans every single year. All those future contracts shut down. The current stuff is being taken off the shelves. It'll be warehoused. If they can sell it later on down the road when the tariffs are gone, they will. If not, the government's willing to eat the cost. Nova Scotia is doing the same. British Columbia has said that they will take off alcohol from red states. Ford is asking every premier, every liquor board across the country to do the same thing.
Including more than 3,600 products from 35 states. As of today, every single one of these products is off the shelves.
Alberta Premier remains composed as she calmly outlines the significant damage these tariffs will inflict on the province, emphasizing the economic strain without resorting to retaliation against the United States.
And to see this escalation is so disappointing, so damaging, initially to American consumers and American businesses who buy Canadian goods and raw materials. But then now with the counter tariffs, it's also going to be harmful to Canadian consumers. No one wins a tariff war.
It's a completely integrated economy. This is going to cause massive problems on both sides of the border, but a bigger problem for us.
I've already said that we're not going to retaliate on energy. That is such an essential product for American consumers and American businesses. We want to make sure that we've got some, 4.3 million barrels a day going into the United States. What you'll see with the tariffs that have been imposed today, 30 billion with another 125 billion to come in 21 days, is focused on things that we can easily replace, that we can find other sources, whether it's Canadian sources, whether it's sources from Mexico, whether it's sources internationally. And the problem that American producers are going to face is that as we start changing those supply chains, those can get stuck, and it's hard to go back to relying on an unreliable trading partner. So I would say the sooner this gets resolved, the better. We are your best customer. We buy more goods and services from you than anyone else in the world. And so when you put these tariffs in place, it means that we're just going to buy less.
There's been plenty of tough talk from Premier Doug Ford this week.
We will immediately apply a 25% surcharge on the electricity we export.
There were very serious questions about the feasibility of doing this.
We will not hesitate to shut off their power as well.
In some cases, we've offered exports at what we call negative prices. We're literally offering to pay people to take the power off our hand.
And so the chaos continues. With each new threat and countermeasure, tensions rise and the uncertainty deepens. Will cooler heads prevail, or are we witnessing the start of something much bigger? Right now, all we can do is watch and wait. What do you think? Is this just political theater, or is a full-blown economic conflict on the horizon?